Hi, everyone. We're just going to give a few seconds for those who are currently logging on. We're just going to give everyone about 20 or 30 seconds here to get settled in as they come into the Zoom. So just please be patient and we'll be right back to you in about 20 or 30 seconds. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Joe Birch. I'm the Chief Operating Officer and Governor for the Kitchener Rangers. Pleased to join you on International Women's Day with our very first Women in Hockey conference. Wherever you are in the world today, I hope that you and your families are safe and healthy and getting through this challenging time. We hope that this conference that we're doing will bring some positivity and really a distraction from all the things that are going on in our various lives. I say where you are in the world because one of the fantastic things about sport and bringing people together is we have registered participants joining us here today from Sweden, Slovakia, Great Britain, Australia, Hungary, 18 different United States, and 8 different provinces in our great country of Canada. This is really about the talented and fantastic 14 women that we have joining us that have drawn in these so many different individuals from across the globe. And we're so very fortunate that you are joining us, and we're so very fortunate to be hosting this event. Why are we doing it? Well, quite simply, we want to celebrate. We want to celebrate the talented women that I am very fortunate to get to work with on a regular basis in the Kitchener Rangers staff, plus our guests that have given their time to join us to help all of communities and sport grow. We want to educate. We want to create awareness for all of us, for myself in a leadership position, for those within the Ontario Hockey League family, for all of those in the hockey world. Educate us, please. We want to be able to learn and to be able to grow and to be leaders within our game. Third reason we're doing this today is we believe that we have an opportunity to use our platform and our resources to be advocates in supporting the great women in our game and the future women in our game. We have many delegates who are registered today who are students either of high school or graduates. And this is a great opportunity for you to continue to learn and to be able to entrust the future of our game with you. So we're incredibly excited about this. This isn't just a one-off for us. As an organization, we are completely committed to this being the first step in our diversity and inclusion programming. We see our Women's in Hockey Day program as an annual program, hopefully in person one day at the odd, whether it's in person on ice or education seminars throughout the course of a season or another conference live on March the 8th in 2022. But this is our first step and our commitment to helping the hockey world continue to change and to grow. Lastly, I want to send out a few thank yous. Without the 14 guests of our Rangers staff and our other hockey guests who have joined us today, this would not be possible. To all of you incredibly special, talented women, you are leaders in the game. And we are so proud to be associated with all of you. Thank you so much for volunteering your time. I would also wish to thank our great partner in Under Armour, who's actually provided some fantastic gifting for our panelists. And in addition to those participants, there's an opportunity for you to win some gifting from Under Armour, which our host will tell you about in a future moment. But thank you to everyone who is here. And lastly, I'll stop talking because I tend to ramble, but I'll turn it over to the most important person who's going to show some tremendous leadership today. And that is Sarah Jenmar. Sarah is the manager of communications for the Ontario Hockey League. Prior to being with the Ontario Hockey League, SJ worked with the National Hockey League on digital and media platforms. She's been a freelance writer. She's a graduate of Carleton University with a degree in journalism, I've had the fortunate opportunity to work directly with her in my previous role at the Ontario Hockey League. I'm going to day over to SJ. Thank you to all of you and enjoy the conference. Sarah, over to you.
Thank you so much, Birchie, for those very, very kind words. And thank you to the Kitchener Rangers organization for spearheading this whole event. And welcome everyone from around the world, and happy International Women's Day. I echo Birchie's words in thanking all of you for joining us today. It's certainly, I think it's been about a year now since our world drastically changed. It's been a very challenging year for all of us working in sports. And I think I speak for everyone when I say it's really, really nice to just have something positive to celebrate. And I mean, we all have so many incredible perspectives and so many amazing stories to share, so much experience and just so much to offer. So before I introduce the first panel, I'll just quickly go over a few housekeeping items. If any of you do have any questions for any of our panelists, you're welcome to submit in the Q&A provided slot just at the bottom of the screen, and I'll definitely do my best to get to as many of those as possible. After the event, you'll all be emailed out a survey, and among those who fill out that survey, 3 of you will be randomly selected to win a pair of Under Armour shoes, which is pretty cool. I also just wanted to point out that in between each panel, there will be a very short break of about a minute or so, just so we can all kind of stretch our legs and get a glass of water. It is a 3-hour event after all. And lastly, this conference will be rebroadcast on the Kitchener Rangers YouTube channel. I think that's it. So without further ado, let me introduce our first group of panelists. So joining us to kick things off is Chelsea Purcell. Chelsea has played hockey in Saskatchewan, the CWHL's Calgary Inferno. From there, she made the jump to sport and event marketing at George Brown College, which eventually led her to become GM of the Markham Thunder. Currently, she works for CCMC and is the lead corporate sponsorship consultant for the Professional Women's Hockey Players Association. We also have Michelle Benevides joining us. She works on the development and enhancement of the Kitchener Rangers brand, and also works on the community relations and partnership side, as well as with the organization's charitable and nonprofit organizations. We have Alexandra Mandrycky, the Director of Hockey Strategy and Research for the Seattle Kraken, who joined the Kraken by way of the Minnesota Wild. And we have Soroya Tinker, defender for the Metropolitan Riveters of the NWHL. Soroya is also a U18 silver medalist with the Canadian national team and a graduate of university. So welcome all of you. Thank you so much for joining us. I think just to start off, we can all kind of just talk a little bit about the steps we've taken to become involved in the game. We can start with you, Chelsea. I mean, hockey has obviously been a huge part of your life since day one, from your time in Saskatchewan, your time in Calgary, and then making that jump to the management side in Markham. Now you're working in sponsorship. So your love for the game goes without saying. Maybe you can just talk about what that pivot's been like to the sponsorship side of things.
Yeah, so I grew up playing hockey, and I think when I graduated university, even when I was in university, I realized I kind of had the passion for the fundraising side and getting involved in the management and planning. And so when I came out to Toronto, and the George Brown College had the opportunity for the sport and event marketing class or program, I heard a lot of other players had taken part in it. So I did that, made that transition. I used to be a personal trainer, so it was a big transition into the business side of things. And it's been great. I've been very fortunate with the opportunities I've been given through the CWHL and then into the PWHPA. So hockey's definitely been stuck in my life here. So it's just been, I've been fortunate to be able to continue to volunteer and work in it.
It must be an interesting adjustment, kind of getting a totally different perspective of the game, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think, and we've always said this, is that the players don't understand what goes into managing and planning events, but that's our goals. We don't really want them to. We want them to show up to the rink and just play and focus on that. And it's good, I guess, if they can understand the work that goes into it, but we want to make it as easy as possible for them so they can just show up and do their job on the ice.
Exactly. Everyone plays their very important separate role, right?
Yeah.
Now, Michelle, I know you had mentioned in a previous interview that your hockey career kind of chose you. Maybe you can just elaborate on your path and how you made that decision to ultimately turn to hockey with the Kitchener Rangers.
Sorry, guys. Technical issues over here. So no problem. I was working in marketing and design for a publishing company at the Record at the time. I also had my own marketing and design creative business. So I worked for different clients around the GTA and in the Waterloo region. And one of those clients happened to be the Kitchener Rangers. So I helped them with a marketing program leading up to the 2008 Memorial Cup. And so it was coming to an end. They offered me a position to stay on board. And coming from a non-hockey background, it was a little overwhelming at first, I'll say, to come into that industry, to make that jump, but I'm glad I did. I've been there for a long time, and my position has evolved over the years to various things, but things that I've done and accomplished with the team has been incredible. And that's why I continue to be involved with the team and look forward to growing even further with them. So it is for the youth that are watching, or the young women that are watching that want to get into the sport, and Chelsea's, and then a lot of people that have come into this industry, and it's a bit unique the way I came in, but there are opportunities if you are in, marketing, or you're in, sponsorship or sales or any of those industries, and you do want to make that leap into sports, then there are opportunities out there.
Yeah, I was gonna say your path is definitely unique in that sense, and it just goes to show you don't really need this extensive sports background to make that leap, right?
No, I think if you have the experience and the dedication, and the experience in your field, and so if you're a leader in your field and you work hard and you know your industry, then that's a value add to anybody, and you can work anywhere, really, if you show that you have those skills that are needed for the business to succeed. And so I think, they saw that I could add to their industry, to their business and their organization, and it's been great. And I've learned a lot, and I've enjoyed learning a lot and meeting everyone that I have met in the industry, and I'll continue to learn.
That's so great. Now, Alexandra, you were in the hockey space for a while before joining the Seattle Kraken. You spent time with the Minnesota Wild, and prior to that, you were blogging about hockey analytics as their place in the game was really starting to take flight. When you were blogging, what were your big dreams? Where did you kind of see yourself? Was this more of a hobby of yours that turned into something great?
It was definitely just a hobby. In fact, when I was approached to work for the Minnesota Wild, I thought it was a joke. The person that I was doing this website with had told me, and I just thought that it was insane, because why would an NHL team kind of want some random computer nerd to help their front office? But I think that really speaks, I have a similar sort of path of Michelle, right? Like, I know what I am good at. I know what I went to school for, and computer science statistics, but you can take your skill set and ultimately figure out how does that apply to work in the industry of choice, in our case, hockey, right? Whether it's marketing, whether it's, in analytics, whether it's in community sort of programs. We all sort of have our own ways that we can integrate into a hockey organization.
Can you talk about what that process was like the Minnesota Wild kind of reaching out to you? Was there any specific kind of networking strategies that you used? I know there was kind of this uprising of analytical bloggers being hired by NHL clubs, but yeah, I'm wondering how that initial connection was made. Did they kind of just take note of your work online?
Yeah, that's basically exactly what happens. And I think it's a great lesson of you never know who's watching what you're doing, right? Like I think I was not looking for a job. We were not doing this to sort of get hired. It was just something we were passionate about. We were trying to create a tool sort of for fans. And, you know, it just so happened that at the time, a lot of NHL teams were actually going to these websites and picking up stats on their teams, like from random people like me, right? And that's something I tell people looking to get into the industry now, even, you know, like I have a Twitter feed, like I'm following what people are saying, whether it's a writer, whether it's a stats website. You know, certainly I would like to think that I'm also good at my job and I don't need to rely on an analytical blogger to tell me what to do, but we're always looking for sort of the inspiration and sort of new ideas out there.
Now, Soroya, you've been playing hockey your whole life, and like many young kids, I believe it was your dad's love of the sport that kind of gave you the jump start. Maybe you could talk about how he really influenced you and your siblings' love for hockey, and what your dreams within the game really became to be.
Yeah, for sure. So my dad grew up playing hockey in Scarborough, just outside Toronto. Scarborough is a big hockey town, and whether that's road hockey, ball hockey, ice hockey, really anything. So my dad played pretty avidly growing up. Never played any high level or anything like that, but just really loved the game. My dad's black, my mom's white. So when my dad was growing up in Scarborough, he experienced a lot of racism within the game. And that kind of fueled his passion for the game and let him think about that more deeply and want to put his kids in it, just to kind of prove people wrong. And I have three brothers. We've all played, and now I'm playing at the professional level. And I think that that's something that my dad's very proud of. And I think that that's awesome that we get to see the game diversify. And he's seen how I've been included within the hockey community in different ways than he ever was. So I think with that, that's the main point here, that the game is moving forward, and that we're excited to continue to diversify the game.
Absolutely, definitely has so much to be proud of there. And I mean, you're breaking so many barriers in hockey as a woman of color. You've been incredibly outspoken about anti-racism in the game. What would you say are some of the biggest steps players, leagues should be taking right now to change the game in order to make it more inclusive?
Yeah, I think something that I pride myself on is educating others. I think that it's very easy for other people to look things up on Google, read a book, things like that. It's important that people continue to educate themselves and know the history behind the game, and know the history behind your own country, really, and learn how these practices are systemically ingrained. So I think in terms of preaching anti-racism, I think that includes gaining allies within our white communities, especially within hockey. And being an ally to me means sticking up and knowing and understanding and making an effort to do so, as to how your BIPOC players feel, whether that's a teammate, a coach, or whatever situation you've been put in. But I think at the end of the day, it's on our white counterparts to educate themselves and learn how they can be more inclusive and diversify the game even further.
Absolutely. And I'll pose this question to you, Chelsea. I mean, we've seen more and more kind of prominent athletes voicing their support for women's hockey, you know, sporting the PWHPA hoodies. I know the Calgary Flames come to mind. I saw those pictures of Sean Monahan, I think Johnny Gaudreau, and of course the ongoing Stick in the Game campaign in tandem with the launch of the Dream Gap Tour. I know this is a work in progress, and this is really just a first step, but how crucial is it right now to get that kind of recognition?
Yeah, I think it's really important for us. We're pushing for a professional league that has the resources, that's sustainable through like an NHL team. So say take, for example, the Calgary Flames, they have the base, they have funding, they have infrastructure, social media, like larger followings, like all those things help increase the reach and the awareness. And that's what we're pushing for. We hope that we can get to a professional league that has that NHL support and NHL team backing, just to make the game grow quicker. I think right now with what the PHPA and NWHL are doing is helping grow the game, but we need more opportunities and we need more reach and we need more young girls to see what they can see in Soroya and what they can see in the Sarah Nurse. And right now there's just not enough visibility. And I think that's the biggest issue with women's sport in general, not just hockey, but people like Soroya and Sarah Nurse can stand up and talk about being in the game and the opportunities they have and what it takes to be in, what it takes to support players like them so we can increase the diversity and inclusion in our sport. I mean, that's a whole other side of maybe what you didn't ask, but yeah, for us, I mean, any support, like even the NHL team supporting the NWHL's announcement today, coming back to play, that support just helps us reach more people and helps increase our awareness. And I think that's the biggest thing, is that visibility and awareness just isn't there right now in women's sport. And anytime we can get people with more following behind us supporting, that's what we need to grow the game.
Absolutely, and to really take it that step further. Now that you're really ingrained in the sponsorship side of the game, what role do you think sponsorship brands should play in really helping to raise awareness and promotion of women in hockey?
Yeah, I think they have a huge part in it, because I mean, first of all, we need to show that there's sponsorship opportunities and interest there to support a professional league with NHL. They need to see that people want to invest in the game, and without those dollars, it's not a sustainable property. So when you can get those millions of dollars behind supporting the movement, like what Secret and Scotiabank, what Discover's doing, we need these partners to be able to step up and push the game. And I think what sponsors, like what some of our partners like Budweiser, with their campaign they did last year, they see how great of partners we are, because how accessible our players are and how much they support, just because they know how important growing the women's game is, that there's huge investment or huge influence that they can have on growing the game and changing that landscape. And I mean, that's for KPIs and return on investment, and they don't look at what the bigger picture is. And I mean, one of the things is we're getting huge return on investment for some of these partners. Like Secret has gained huge reach from the Secret Dream Gap Tour, and they're everywhere. And Budweiser, I mean, they were on the rink boards yesterday for the Flames games. They'll be on tonight for like with our logo side by side on for the Canucks games tonight. So I think they have that opportunity to help increase our reach, but we need their dollars to grow the game and again to reach more, just like again like Tinker for increasing the inclusion and diversity in sport. Scotiabank's doing an amazing job at that. So that's where their funding can get more people, more diversities, make the game more inclusive through their funding through that. But their dollars are needed to invest in the game to take it to another level for sure.
And Michelle, I'll kind of pose you a similar question in that I think a lot of this probably needs to start at the ground roots level with local hockey, with junior hockey as well. So to kind of get the junior hockey perspective, how do you think sponsorships and brands, what should they be doing to help raise this kind of awareness?
You know, if we're looking at like what Chelsea was alluding to, I think visibility is key. And I think that's an area that's lacking right now. You know, women have to get seen on screens and arenas in larger terms is what we need to happen. And I think, you know, you alluded to the brands stepping up because they're influencers and they're going to influence people and they're going to help get that visibility out there and that awareness. It's not really just awareness, it's about getting seen. And we all know that. And, you know, it's just the challenge to make that happen. And so I think, you know, from our standpoint, what we're doing today is helping. We're going to be talking about it. We're going to see some changers are stepping up and doing their part, but it can't stop here. And we have to really get people involved and get those stakeholders and those brands attached to this cause. And it's not just women that need to speak up, and it's not just, you know, hockey teams, it's everybody. And we need to get like the men on board, and we need to get these sponsors so that we can get this visibility change happening. and it's more opportunities, equal opportunities for women. Let's see more equal opportunities, because that gap is just huge especially when you start to look up. But from grassroots, we work a lot with youth in the community, and we support a lot of minor hockey programs, but the girls hockey programs, it's just not the same, and there's not those opportunities for girls hockey. And I played ringette when I was a kid, and they didn't have hockey programs. And so you look at that, and I didn't grow up thinking I could be a hockey player. I didn't grow up thinking I could work for a hockey team, because you just don't see women. You don't see that, as those examples aren't shown. And so we need to get out there and show the youth that there are those examples. And maybe we need to do more with youth, with girls specifically, at a lower level, and give more opportunities and build those programs. So, I mean, there's lots of work to be done. I think there's steps being taken to get there. But let's hope that, in my lifetime and your lifetime, that we see a lot of change happen, because it needs to happen quicker than it's happening now. So I think the Rangers are doing, taking the initiative and getting involved with diversity and inclusion specifically, and also women in hockey. And they've promised, to continue that conversation. And so let's get more women working, let's get more women playing, and let's really get that visibility happening.
Yeah, those are all excellent points and very important steps to be taken. And on that note, just speaking to a team that has really made it their commitment to do that kind of work, Alexandra, Todd Lewicki, CEO, president of the Seattle Kraken, he talked about diversity being such a priority when putting together this team. How does it feel to be a key part of that group? And maybe you can speak to, what the Kraken's message or mission really is when it comes to diversity. What's the bottom line?
I think the bottom line is that sort of any position that we're hiring for, whether it's on sort of the hockey side or the business side, right? Like, you want to make sure that you're sort of sourcing all potential avenues for that candidate pool. I think so much of the issue as women elevate in sport and transition after their playing career is, someone like Soraya, someone like Chelsea, like, where is the path forward? I think for maybe male players, it's a little more defined, right? Go play in the NHL, maybe you go be a pro scout for a little while, you sort of work your way up the ranks, and sort of that pipeline doesn't exist for women yet. And I think what we're really excited about is maybe starting to build that out. And I think the more people like me, like my coworker Demita, that is on a panel a little bit later, right? Like, all of a sudden the network sort of within the traditional hockey operations staff has expanded. And so that's what I'm really excited about, is you sort of see more women in positions at NHL teams, is that they're going to be advocating and speaking sort of more opportunities for people that they know are qualified. Because I think, we all know that women are just as qualified as men, and, no offense to any men on the call, oftentimes more, but we still have to fight sort of for our space.
Absolutely. And we've talked about the importance of the NHL stepping up, the importance of having not just raising awareness, but raising the visibility. Soraya, what do you think is the biggest barrier right now in driving that visibility of women's sport?
Yeah, I think that we often stress that representation matters. We talk about that networking pipeline for the men that are finished in their careers or are moving forward into the NHL, things like that. So representation is huge. I know for me, I want to be visible so that little black girl behind me can play hockey. And that goes along for our white counterparts as well. We need to see women playing hockey, and other little girls will follow, and that pipeline can continue to flourish and continue to be thickened and built from there. So I think that in regards to that, I think that representation is huge, and we need to see more women in position of power in order to amplify our voices and gain those positions of power moving forward.
Are you optimistic about the steps being taken right now?
Yeah, I definitely am. I think that we've seen so much change go on in the game just in the past year, with all the social justice movements and everything that's gone on. I think that myself, I've played hockey for 20 years, and this is probably one of the first years of my hockey career that I have felt like I've been fully included and my voice is being heard. So for me, that means that steps are being taken, and people are starting to recognize that the game needs to be more inclusive, and it needs to incorporate and women of color.
Absolutely. Alexandria, Sportsnet just released their list of 25 most powerful women in hockey, and you were up there at number 4, which is phenomenal. So first of all, I just want to ask how surreal it is to kind of have that recognition.
Thanks. Yeah, it's lists are always interesting. And when I look at lists like that, what I think the feeling that I feel most often is like it's a shame that there aren't more people sort of in positions that I'm like further down on the list or like don't make the list, right? And that it probably sounds like, oh, whatever, just deflecting sort of a compliment or praise as us women tend to do. But I really think that I'm really looking forward to the day in which like me being a woman isn't a story, right? Like there's so many people like me and sort of other teams that and at the Kraken that is just sort of less notable. But I think it's real, like, I love days like this because it allows us to celebrate our accomplishments and be proud of sort of the space we've made for ourselves.
Absolutely. And I mean, Soroya, you were also on that list. I'm just wondering, you mentioned, you really felt like you've found your voice more than ever this year. What would you tell your younger self? I mean, I imagine your relationship with hockey hasn't always been a strong one. I think you've probably fallen in and out of love with it along the way. So what would you tell your younger self?
Yeah, I think in my career, I wish I would have found my voice sooner, and known who I was as a person a lot sooner as well. I think that I would have been able to speak up on a lot of issues throughout my career, but also moving forward into today, I think although I have fallen in and out of love in the game over the 20 years of playing, I think I have developed a whole new love for it just because I've recognized that my role isn't necessarily to play for myself and play to the best of my abilities, but to play to the best of my abilities for the little girls behind me. I think that that's the most important part at this point, just because although I may not see it in my career being paid and being broadcast where we should, but I hope that they do, and I hope that they make a living wage playing, and that they can flourish in the sport and be recognized to the level that they deserve to be. So I think for me, I've just recognized that I have a different role within the game now. And whether that's playing or speaking up or developing these programs for these younger girls, we'll have a space in the sport, and that's what I've always hoped. And it's here now. So
It is here now. That's right. Chelsea, I'll ask you the same thing. Someone who's been, trained in the hockey world your whole life. What's the biggest piece of advice you'd share with your younger self?
That's a tough question, but I think for every young girl, it's just working as hard as you can. If there's something you believe in, don't let gender or race or anything hold you back. Just go for it and work as hard as you can. And I think one piece of advice that has helped me along the way is that build your network. The more people you know, the more opportunities you have, and never burn a bridge, because you never know where you'll come back across those people. But I think just building your network, like don't be afraid to reach out to somebody for coffee, or it's just the more people you know, the more opportunities you have. And I think that's been one of my successes, is been able to build that network and get to know more people and relationship build. And that's also what I enjoy most about the jobs I've been in, is that people and get to know their stories and learn from each other and how you can grow this game together.
So for everyone on the call who's kind of looking to break into the sports industry and maybe doesn't have the hockey background, is the biggest piece of advice, I guess you kind of mentioned it, you know, building your network and reaching out if you need help. I guess those are two of the biggest pieces of advice you'd offer someone looking to kind of carve out a similar path.
Yeah, and for me, like I was never a good delegator, especially being a GM. I just kind of like to have my hand in everything and control everything, and like I have a control issue. But I'm able to give that off when I can trust people, and I've been able to find people that work really hard and show their passion as well. And it's made me learn how to delegate, or maybe it's just having good people to work with. And so I think showing that hard work and showing that you care and you have that passion. And sports is not like a dream job. It's not like 8 to 5, or, you know, it's long hours. And especially in my position with the PHPA, it's a consulting job. So it's not my day job. So I put in a lot of hours to be able to support that in my evenings. And I think people have to understand looks really nice because it's sports, but it's a lot of hard work that goes into it. And I mean, everybody on this call knows that it's not your basic job where you're just working simple hours. And especially for people like with you guys at the Rangers, you guys are working evenings, and I think you just have to show that you care and that you're willing to put in the work, and especially when probably at times where you don't want to work.
Yeah, I definitely, I think, like you said, we can all kind of relate to that. It's definitely you know, has the goal of a dream job, but it definitely is a lot of hard work. And I find we kind of end up wearing a lot of different hats in these roles as well, don't we?
Yeah, exactly. So I think, I mean, everyone here you find that passion, and when you have that passion, you can be in that job. It doesn't make it feel like you're working. Like for me, my position with PHPA is like, I don't realize I'm working these hours at night or these long nights, because I know that it's for the future of the game. And so that's where I think people more want to work in it, because they see that passion. And if you have that passion, that's what makes things all better to work for. And if you have that passion, just keep pushing and build your networks, work as hard as you can, and things will come. Just might take a while.
Absolutely. And Michelle, I'll kind of ask you something similar. You've when you first kind of made the crossover into the sports world, you said you kind of found it was a bit overwhelming. The passion that kind of took over. What ultimately made things, you know, when did you get to a point where you were kind of like, this is where I want to be?
Yeah, I think, I mean, that first year was like initiation by fire, because I came from, and like you guys are talking, the long hours, right? I came from a 9 to 5, maybe even like a 9 to 4. And then I did my own work, you know, whenever I wanted to outside of that. But you're not working a 9 to 5. And so, and on top of that, I was working the full time with the Rangers, but we were also producing the Memorial Cup. And so it was, and I was finishing out that contract that I was doing with them before. So it was double whammy. And I think I got comfortable. I would say, you know, it's with any job, any new position that you take, it's a little scary, especially, you know, going into a male dominated industry. It can be, you know, overwhelming, but give yourself a break, cut yourself some slack, and you will get there, because it takes time. And I think I kind of got into my own groove after the first year, after I went through a season, and I had so much support with the staff that were there. I had support, you know, from the hockey staff helping me out, and from the business side. And so that was great. I think, you know, as Chelsea said, get some good people around you. We have good people around us at the Rangers, and I'm very lucky to work with such a great team. And, you know, people have come and gone over the years that I've been there. But we always build such a great, successful culture. And that's one of the things that has kept me there, because, you know, I look forward. I'm currently on maternity leave right now. And so I haven't been there during, you know, the tough year that we've all been through with COVID. But I'm still keeping in touch because, I can't wait to see everyone at the rink again. I can't wait to be back. And I can't wait to help grow the sport again and grow the team and get everything back to where it needs to be and work with those stakeholders that I was working with before. So, I think I got off track there and I'm sorry, but I'm really passionate about my career with the Rangers and I look forward to continuing that. And I think that, I look forward to seeing the youth and more women in a position like I am, finding something that they love and sticking with it.
Absolutely. And I mean, the Memorial Cup is a good way to kind of discover your passion for junior hockey. It's a lot of fun, isn't it?
It really was. And I met some great people in the league. I mean, our league is second to none, the CHL. There's some fantastic people that work in our league, specifically the women. Some of those women are still there in for the long haul, like I am. And I've made relationships for life that will definitely last. And when you're working those long hours, that's good to have, right?
Yes, it is. Can definitely attest to that. Soroya, you mentioned, you've kind of discovered your role is really just you're playing for others, not just for yourself. So I'm curious, I mean, that kind of might be the answer to this next question, but in your opinion, what has been the best part about being in this industry?
Yeah, I think upon graduating, I didn't even really want to be involved in the hockey community anymore. I figured that my career was over and it was time to move on. My degree is in public health, so I never really anticipated working further in hockey. But I think it's been great so far. I've gotten to know so many BIPOC people within the hockey community that I didn't even know were a part of it. And I think for me that was huge to see, just because I was able to see their representation and see that I do have a place in working in hockey potentially. So I think for me that it's been awesome to build those connections and do that networking, like Chelsea was talking about, and just making an effort to build my network and talk to as many people as possible, just because I've gotten so many ideas and so much advice from people within the hockey community so far. And I mean, I feel like I'm really only in my first year within the hockey community outside of playing in college. So I think moving forward, I'm super excited to continue to build those relationships and further my career.
Amazing. Well, to wrap things up, I'll ask you the same thing, Alexandra. What has been the most rewarding part about working in this industry on the operational side?
Yeah, I think sort of getting to work on the big stage, sort of the NHL sort of level, it's really fun. There's so, like, I would say few touch points that in my job, you really get to say like, wow, this is like something that I did, right? You're just sort of a part of the team. You're helping to make decisions, work with coaches. But at the end of the day, it's the players on the ice that kind of have to figure things out for you and figure out if it'll work. But I just feel so grateful. At the end of the day, I always say like, I get to think about hockey. Like I used to, before I worked in hockey, I like thought about medical device logistics. And while that was exciting, like getting to watch hockey at night as part of my job is way better. And I always, when my husband maybe complains about me not doing something, I'm just like, I'm working. I'm sorry, it's really important. No, I cannot watch this game on a computer tomorrow. I have to watch it right now. You can put our son to bed. So doesn't work very often, but I would say that's the best part of working in hockey, is just sort of getting to do something that we're all super passionate about.
Definitely. I definitely agree with that. Well, thank you guys so much. That wraps up the first period of this event. So really, really appreciate all of you taking the time to chat and just sharing all your stories and your very valuable perspectives. So we'll take a 1-minute break so everyone can just get a drink of water before we head into the second period.